Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm Paul, I'm with the Dicey Review, and today we're going to be learning how to play the 1 to 4 player cooperative game Minecraft Explorers, released by Ravensburger in the US. Minecraft Explorers is a cooperative game where players are trying to gather resources and/or items to fill up 4 out of the 5 chests in the display set up at the start of the game. The goal is for them to do this before they're overrun with monsters and the Game Over card would be revealed. Players will continue to take turns using their energy to explore locations, fight monsters, fill up chests, or refill the display until either 4 of the 5 chests are filled or the Game Over card is revealed. Minecraft Explorers comes with all of the components that you see here, including 30 total mob cards, 1 night card, 60 landscape cards, 12 chest cards, game over card, and 6 hunger cards. To begin setup, first shuffle the landscape cards, and then lay out the top 5 landscape cards in the play area, making sure that no one sees the secret items on the backside. Then shuffle all of the mob cards and place them face down in the play area, and remove a number of cards from the deck depending on the player count. Make sure to place the cards you removed back in the box without looking at them. In our 2-player example, we removed 7. Then take the bottom 4 cards of the stack and shuffle the Game Over card into those bottom 4 cards so you don't know exactly when the game will end. Place that stack back in the play area and turn over the top mob card. The last person to have played Minecraft will be the first player and get the 6 hunger cards and the night card. Finally, you'll determine which chests you're trying to fill up during the game. For future games, the rulebook recommends shuffling all the chests together and then revealing a certain amount depending on how hard you want the game to be. For your first game, they recommend just using chests 1 through 5. Now that this has been done, you're ready to play. In Minecraft Explorers, players will take turns, beginning with the start player and then going clockwise around a table. And on their turn, a player will use their hunger cards to take any number of actions that they can or want to explore locations, fight mobs, fill up treasure chests, or refresh or refill the display. At the end of a player's turn, they have to discard the night card from their hand, which will cause 1 more mob to be revealed. And after that's done, the hunger and night cards would be passed to the next player who would take their turn. This process would repeat until the in-game conditions are met. On a player's turn, they can take 1 of 4 possible actions, and to take the actions, they'll need to spend the hunger cards from their hand. The first action that a player could take on their turn would be to explore landscapes. To explore a landscape, players would have to pay the cost and hunger listed in the top left. And there may also be additional costs that a player might have to pay, or potential dangers depending on which landscape they choose. But for instance, this player could pay 2 hunger from their hand to explore this landscape card. And once you explore a card, you would turn it over and see what type of an item or a resource you would get. This item would then be added into the player's personal supply, and they could continue taking actions by spending hunger cards. There are also some locations that may cause players to reveal more monsters. Those locations are indicated by this mob symbol in the top right. A player won't know if they have to turn over more mobs until the location is turned face up. For instance, this location has no mob symbol, so the players are safe. This location, however, does have the symbol showing that a mob would have to be revealed, so the players would have to reveal a mob following the normal rules, which we'll look at a little later in the video. There are also some locations whose cost to explore can be reduced if you have a particular tool type. For instance, this location could be discounted with a pickaxe, and the discount given would vary based on the type of tool that you have. In this instance, with this iron pickaxe, you could reduce the cost to explore this location by 2. Each item can only be used twice before it's broken, and to show that, you would rotate the card, showing the symbol that shows the trash can. If this card was used again, it would then be discarded. But if a player were to use this tool, it would discount the cost of this exploration by 2, making it only cost 1 energy. And there are different types of pickaxes that may give a higher discount. And some locations can also be discounted with swords, just like with pickaxes. So for instance, if a player were to use this sword, they could discount the cost of this exploration completely, making it free. It's important to note that there's no limit to the number of items or resources that you can have in your supply, and items can be used right away. So if a player were, for instance, to discover this pickaxe while they were exploring, they could then immediately use it to discount this location if they wanted to. There are also some locations that are villages where you can trade with a villager. To explore this location, you would have to pay the 1 cost shown in the top left, and you would also have to discard one of the 2 items that the villager wants to trade. So in this instance, you could either discard an emerald or an iron bar like what we see here. If a player paid the cost and discarded the needed item, they would then be able to turn this over and collect the reward. And it's important to note that the reward always matches what's shown on the right of the arrow, so you can see here an armor was given. There are a number of cool special items that you can discover by exploring landscapes, and we'll go over all of the special items and what they do at the end of the video. The last thing to mention is that new locations will not be turned face up after you explore. This has to be done with its own special action. The next action that a player could take on their turn would be to fight mobs. To fight a mob, a player would have to either discard the number of hunger shown in the top left of the mob, or they could use a sword to get a discount, just like with exploring locations. So for instance, this player could discard 2 hunger cards, or use this sword tool to fight and defeat this mob. You'll then add any defeated mobs to your supply as a trophy. And it's important to note that if you're able to collect 2 mobs that are the same, you can discard any pair of mobs to be an extra hunger to take further actions on your turn. And just like with items, you could save them for later, or you could use them immediately, however you want to. The next action that a player could take on their turn if they wanted to would be to reveal new landscapes. To do this, a player would only have to spend 1 energy, and then they would be able to refill the display up to 5 landscapes. So for instance, the player could just refill to 5 if they wanted to. Players are also allowed to put any landscapes that were there previously on the bottom of the deck and refresh those if they wanted to as well. So instead of just turning over 2 new ones, the players could have gotten rid of all 3 or just gotten rid of 2 or 1 before refilling to 5. The last action that a player can take on their turn is to fill chests. To do this, a player would simply discard 1 energy, and then a player could place any number of the items that they have in their supply underneath chests. It's also important to note that if you are trying to fill a chest that requires a specific tool, the tool could have been used once and still be placed in the chest. Now, of course, if the tool was used twice, it would be discarded and broken. But you can place a used tool in a chest, just not a broken tool. If a chest is ever completely filled, you would also immediately get to defeat 1 mob for free. And you could defeat any mob regardless of the cost. So for instance, this player could defeat this mob, and they would place them in their supply as normal. If there are no mobs showing and you complete a chest, then you're out of luck and you waste that bonus. At the end of their turn, after taking all of the actions that they can or want to, the players would have to discard the Night card. And the Night card indicates that a mob has to be revealed. Whenever a mob needs to be revealed, whether it's from the Night card or from exploring a dangerous location, players would turn over mob cards from the top of the deck. If a player turns over a card and the mob is already existing in the play area, they would simply cover the existing mob, and then they would have to turn over another one until they turn over a card that isn't already face up in the display. So for instance, after turning over this card, they've turned over a new mob type, and because of that, they would be able to stop. As you can see, making sure that the mob area is clear will help you avoid being overrun and losing the game more quickly. After a player is done taking their turn, they would pass the Night card and the 6 hunger cards to the next player in clockwise order, and then they would take their turn following the same steps, discarding hunger cards to take whichever action they want to. The game of Minecraft Explorers will end in one of 2 ways. If players are able to fill all but one of the chests face up in the display, so in this example 4 out of the 5, then they would win. If, while revealing mobs, a player were to ever reveal the game over card, the game would immediately end and the players would lose. Now that we've looked at how to play the game, let's look at some of the special items that you can gain when you're exploring landscapes and what they'll do for you. There are many different types of food in the game, and if you have these items in your supply, you can discard them to immediately gain that much hunger. This will allow you to take additional actions on your turn, on top of the ones that you're already able to take with your 6 hunger cards. These can be discarded for extra hunger just like pairs of mobs. This crossbow card, when discarded, would allow a player to immediately defeat and collect 2 mobs regardless of their cost. If a player were to have this armor in their supply, the next time they would have to reveal a mob, whether it be from the night card or from exploring a dangerous location, they would get to skip that activation, not having to reveal any monsters. If a player has the spyglass, they could discard it to immediately reveal all the landscapes on display. You would then get to take note on what's on the other side of each of the cards before turning them back over again. So it essentially gives you information about each location. And then the Explorer map would allow you to immediately find one of 2 landscapes. A player could discard this card to immediately find one of the 2 listed landscapes and place them in the face-up display in addition to the 5 that are already there. Someone could then explore these locations just like they would any other landscape if they can pay the very high hunger cost. These 2 locations would give either the Wet Sponge or the Totem of Undying, which are very rare items needed to fill certain chests. There's also great danger lurking in both of these places, so players will need to make sure and be careful. Alright everybody, that was our video. Hopefully it was helpful and hopefully it was informative. If you still have any questions at all about how to play the game, please comment below or email me directly at thedicey@gmail.com, and I'll do my best to answer that question for you if I can. As always, if you enjoy the content that we're putting out, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell icon to be notified whenever we put out new content in the future. Alright, thanks so much for watching everybody, and until next time, I'll see you at the table.